Everywhere I look, people tell me I'm wrong and that I was wrong about Nicco Marchiol. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host. This is Locked On West Virginia. Late night edition. We're after dark again, having some fun, up late, thinking about some things, and got a few messages today that made me rethink a couple situations that I've maybe had over the last couple of months, and want to get into those, right? So give me a chance to do my best to explain, I guess is the best way I can explain this entire thing. So let's get to the sponsors here first. Appreciate everybody for being here. This episode of Locked On West Virginia going to be brought to you by Game Time. Let's see. Let me get over to it. For whatever reason, my screen froze on me. I don't understand that. There it goes. It's moving again. All right. This episode of Locked On West Virginia going to be brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. And that would be very much appreciated. And thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen, and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We talk about your team, the Mountaineers, every single day. All right, so something I'm up late talking about, thinking about, is Nicco Marchiol, and some things that people have told me over the last week or so, especially the last 24 hours, that I was wrong about him, and that, I had it all wrong, that I was wrong to think Jalen Henderson would beat him out, or anybody else. And I just want to clarify something, just to be fair here, right? Because I have absolutely, in the beginning, when Jalen Henderson first committed, I did say I felt like he should start. I did say that. But I came around to Nicco Marchiol about a month ago. And I think it's okay if you change your mind, right? I know people want to hold you to a certain opinion, but I did eventually come around to say Nicco Marchiol should be the starter about a month ago. And, I made sure to say it often so that as many people could hear it as possible. But on that same token, I said a lot about Jalen, right? Even had him on my show. So, it's kind of hard to overcome all that. And I understand why some people want me to be wrong about it. I'm happy to be wrong about it, to be honest. I think there's a long way to go. I think there's a lot of football left to be played. I'll just read one comment. Well, I'll read a couple. I have them over here. What's up, John? Hello, Nathan. Okay, so I've got these comments written, typed out. All right, so this is from somebody. I'm not even going to give them any publicity, but he said it's easy as a fat liberal. It's easy as a fat liberal to sit in your chair and make judgments about Nicco, who's sat behind so many quarterbacks and been so loyal to our university, and then to let just any Joe Schmo walk in the doors and claim that QB1 spot. Jalen Henderson does not deserve the QB1 spot. Nicco Marchiol does, and I'll go to my dying grave thinking that, he says. First of all, can we just unpack that comment and maybe suggest that this dude maybe get a little bit of help? Hold on, man. I take it really seriously, but that's like way over the edge. Way over the edge, man. Unfortunately. So, I don't like to get into my political beliefs, but you've tried to label me something that I've never claimed to be. Never claimed to be a liberal. Never claimed to be conservative. Never claimed to be anything. So let's just point that out. I'm not going to get into what I am or aren't, but I've never claimed to be a liberal either. Am I a big guy? Yeah, I'm absolutely pretty. I am definitely chubby. So you got one of those right. So yeah, absolutely. And here's another one. So and this one's equally as funny, but you fancy yourself a tape watcher, somebody that preaches at everybody to watch tape over and over and over again, yet you obviously can't watch it yourself because it doesn't take a very, very good. What is he typing here? A very, very good what? I can't even. I don't know if it's typo or what. He's misspelled it, but I think he's trying to. I don't even know what that word is. Um, it must have came through as a typo. Apologies. So a very, very good something to understand that Nicco Marchiol is a much better quarterback than Jalen Henderson, but keep on preaching. So I'm trying to figure out what kind of word he could have meant there. But anyways, so obviously there are people that are upset about the fact that I promoted Jalen early on, and I get it. Maybe I did go a little bit too far with that, but I still feel like both quarterbacks give us a chance to win. I do want to say that. If you look at the Pro Football Focus scores from yesterday, Jalen had a really good score too at 92, just a point and a half behind Nicco. Now, Nicco sustained it for 61 plays, Jalen only for 12. And Pro Football Focus is the be all end all. Nicco definitely, he's come a long way, with his arm. No doubt he's come a long way with his arm. The ball to Cam Baum is absolutely superb. Over the shoulder, right in the breadbasket, although he had to make a hard adjustment to the ball. That was an incredible throw and catch, and it lets me know that Nico's capable of throwing that deep ball and throwing it well and accurate. It's probably going to have to be a little bit more accurate in the Big 12 because I don't know if Cam's going to be that wide open to be able to adjust like that without somebody all over him. Because if somebody would have been on him, it'd have probably been too difficult to make that catch. But that's a hypothetical, another hypothetical. So, I wanted to get on here and address it just because I think it's kind of funny that people think I'm anti-Nicco. I just want what's best for the football program. And I still feel like Jalen is a more dangerous runner. I mean, he's proven that. I think he showed it. I think he showed it yesterday at times. We're almost to the day before yesterday at this point. But Nicco absolutely serves a great purpose. Like Coach Rod said, he's a gritty runner. He's a physical runner. He's probably more of a between the tackles kind of guy. Definitely. No doubt about it. But I still think that Jalen gives us something with his legs that I would like to explore. Scotty Fox gives us something with his too. And here's the real kicker. So does Max Brown. Like, we've got 4 good ones. It's kind of sad that we can't play them all the time because I do think that they all 4 have a lot of upside in their own ways. Now, pure passing standpoint, I wanted to see Max Brown play. I really did. I think with the wide receiver group that we have, it could be special, but unfortunately his decision-making wasn't great last spot he was at. We talked about that before too. So I know, and then Fester says in the comments, I could see both playing throughout the season, and that could be likely, yeah. I do think that it's interesting. I wouldn't mind seeing both in on certain packages. Hell, you could bring 3 or 4. Could you imagine if you had 3 or 4 quarterbacks on the field? I don't know what you could do with it, but I mean, just think, like, if you're really in the lab, what could you do with 3 quarterbacks on the field at the same time? Could you throw a bunch of different laterals and do some kind of crazy one-off trick play? I don't know. I mean, what about with 3 running quarterbacks? Could you do an option type play? I don't know. I feel like here's how I feel about it, Sean, and you chime in and say Nicco ran well and threw better than I feel anyone else on the team can. Well, not Max Brown, but we haven't seen that, unfortunately, because he couldn't play yesterday. Max Brown is I've showed his tape on here multiple times. Definitely the better thrower. But I mean, it's not far a drop off in my. I mean, Nicco is definitely come a long way. Come a long way. I think what Nicco is he's the best thrower runner combo, is what he is. He does. I think he throws it better than Jalen, and he runs it better than Max Brown, in my opinion. Rich Rod says otherwise, but I think Nico's a little bit better runner than Max, and then Scotty has the most upside as we talk about. But this is about me being wrong or right about Nicco, and I don't think I was necessarily wrong. I think I was wrong initially because I was basing a lot of what happened last year. Right? You think about you go back to some of the performances Nicco had. It's like the Arizona game, right? He went 18 for 22, right? And it was all dink and dunk. And then you look at yesterday's performance, and outside of the one bomb, it was all hitches to Cam Bond, kind of. And it just makes me wonder, at some point we're going to have to go beyond that kind of throwing if somebody's stopping our run. And I hope that he can make that happen. I have faith that he can. I just want to see it in action. Let's go to break really quick. We'll come back. We'll discuss some other things I've been wanting to talk about today, namely, what about the defense, man? I got to tell you, I think it really could be the thing that leads this team to bowl eligibility and beyond. And of course, this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by GameCap, the GameCap, which is a new thing we're talking about here on the show. Something I'm excited to talk about for sure. Something that we haven't had a chance to really mention much yet outside of today on one other read. So when it talking about the GameCap, you have to start with retro, man. And we have a quick question for all you college football fans out there. If you could go back in time and sit in the front row of your school's biggest rivalry game, what hat would you be wearing? Yes, I said hat. For me, I said the 1988 game earlier. I may want to even go back and see the game. Then, there's a few. I might want to go see the Marshall game with Randy Moss. That's one I would see that was, 98, I believe it was. That would be a cool game to go see because these aren't just hats. They're the same vintage styles fans wore back in the 80s and 90s. And guess what? They still go for the same price they did back then. When you use Locked On, you will get your vintage hat for $16.99. So do me a favor and head over to GameCaps, thegamecaps.com, and grab your team's classic bar or retro circle design and use code Locked On for an exclusive discount because legends wear the game. And of course, we couldn't forget about our friends over at Game Time as well. And when it comes to Game Time, we have to mention college football's back, of course, and I couldn't be more excited about it. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's nothing just like it. But let's be real. They're actually getting tickets can feel a lot more like the game in the battle, more battle than the game itself, right? Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time in just a couple taps. I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games for as low as $25. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. The terms do apply, but that code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off today. And swipe, tap, ticket. Go download Game Time today. Swipe, tap, ticket, go download Game Time today and ask yourself the question of all questions. What time is it? It's game time. All right, guys, this is a segment 2 cracking of the dew. Let's jump back in. So let's roll, baby. All right. Nicco Marchiol had a pretty cool response to getting the starting job. And I wanted to play some of that here from Metro News.
hearing those words finally is
So let me share the screen. Okay, you guys already have it. Cool.
just surreal. Was very pleased to hear that, but I think it's rooted in commitment and substance, and I thought it was earned, just like what we say here, earned not given, and just going to continue to go out week in, week out, and just produce for my guys.
Nicco has shown it during practice. He was the most.
So love to hear that from Nicco Marchiol, obviously. Just an excellent interview there, and really explains the identity of the program. They say good programs mirror their head coach, and I do truly believe that this program already is in great hands as far as that goes. When you hear the coaches talk, when you hear the players talk, they're mirroring what Rich Rod is and says, and that can't be more important than it already is, in my opinion. So great to see, great to hear that. Lytle Barnes says, I'm conflating passing for throwing. It's because your best thrower does not mean the best passer. I disagree with that, and so does Pro Football Focus, actually. Pro Football Focus gives Jalen Henderson a 92 grade. One of those balls were right in the hands, dropped. So I'm not exactly sure where you're getting that from. But either way, it's really not the point. I was talking about Max Brown anyways, who I believe is the best passer on the team, and he's shown that. He's shown that at other times. But that doesn't mean I think he should start. Like I said, I've said that on a couple occasions. It doesn't mean I think that Max Brown should start, because decision-making comes into play, obviously. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend but I'm just talking about from an arm talent perspective. I think Max Brown has a great arm. Although Scotty Fox could be the next great thing, as we've said a couple different times. But yeah, I think Nicco is the best combination of passer / runner. And I think that's why he does it. And also probably the grasping of the offense. There's continuity with certain team members that remained. There's a few things that go into play there. But I would like to see, just because, if you haven't gone back and watched, go back and watch a couple of the runs that Jalen had. He just looks a little bit different when he runs with it. He's very explosive. I would love to see him get some more running plays. Not even necessarily got to be passing plays. I would love to see him just have some more running plays in the offense. Maybe if we get down inside the 20, they can run some run zone read with him as well, just to switch things up. So that's a big deal. Barnaby Jones, it's funny you mentioned that. I was just having a discussion in a group chat that I'm in with some of the guys that Locked On, and somebody said that ESPN PR is saying that certain games, he's basically saying that ESPN, has anybody seen anything about this? ESPN already making a decision on the week 3 game day setup. As far as I was concerned, unless, and it could be confirmation bias. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like that's not. But at the end of the day, from what I was told and what we've heard from Kirk Herbstreit and from Pat McAfee, as long as we go 2-0 and Pitt goes 2-0, that should be the matchup on College Game Day. But I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't. I would say that I just, maybe I've read too far into that, right? Why would he be openly campaigning for it over and over and over again like that if it wasn't going to happen? Seems like that's something you would do behind closed doors, unless you're trying to drum up public pressure or interest for it. I'm not sure. But, I don't know. I'm thinking and it doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but the person that sent the message would know. He used to work at ESPN, as a matter of fact. So, that made me I'm trying to figure out where ESPN PR even is. Is that on X or something? Is that something you can actually find? Let's just type in ESPN PR and see what comes up. Maybe it shows up. ESPN PR. Yeah, there it is right there. It's probably going to say it right here, isn't it? August 27th to 3 hours ago. I don't see anything there. Maybe there's another site though that you can find it on. I'm not sure. Interesting stuff though, right? Definitely interesting. I'm really curious. Like, obviously, this is something I think for West Virginia. Obviously, we feel like it's a no brainer to bring game day to the backyard brawl, but also I understand that there's a lot of SEC bias going on, and there's just no way, right? There's just no way that they're probably going to do it. The SEC bias thing, which is whatever. But yeah, I would love to know the answer to this question for sure. I wonder what ESPN PR he's talking about. We'll look into that. Somebody look into that, see what you can find out. Maybe they've already announced somewhere that they're going to go to one of the SEC games for game day. I'm not sure. Let's put a bow on this one, guys. We'll go to break and come right back and talk about that defense we were getting ready to talk about. We'll be right back. And, of course, this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by our friends. We got friends around here. Did you know that? Over at Rugiet. When it comes to Rugiet, guys, there's quite a few things that I would like to get across to you, but none bigger than, listen, we know it's probably hard, and you probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow, unlike the usual pills that can take hours. Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under the tongue and kicks in fast on average in 15 minutes. So the effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Rugiet might be the answer, as over 150,000 men have already made the switch. Head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnCollege and use the code LockedOnCollege to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege and use the promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment, as compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information. And we have a big favor to ask some of you guys here at Locked On. You see, unfortunately, we have to do this every single episode, and it's something I'm proud to ask. We want to hear from you. We put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcasters and podcasts even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. So go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. And everyone who completes a survey will be entered into a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey, where you can also find the link in the show notes. Hey, guys, we appreciate you for helping us out either way. All right. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate that so much. As always, I am your host, Locked On Mountaineers. Locked On. Well, you think we should have went Locked On Mountaineers? Sometimes I say that. Locked On West Virginia's Mountaineer Paul. Do you think Locked On Mountaineers would have been better? I had an option to pick Locked On Mountaineers, but I just felt like, you know what? Here's why I chose Locked On West Virginia. I had the choice. I just felt like our state is the most important thing to us, at least in my opinion. The state of West Virginia, something I'm proud to be from. Why hide from that? I don't hide from that. I don't shy away from it to anybody, to anyone, anywhere, anytime. It's just not happening. As a matter of fact, and once again, disclaimer, because sometimes I throw out these random facts and I forget, well, they might not have the context. There was a point in time where my life wasn't great and I was locked away for that. So to the point to where I fought people, unfortunately, I was young and stupid, but I fought people behind bars over the West Virginia Mountaineers because they wouldn't respect Tavon Austin. Oh God, what's wrong with me? And this, I'm your host. People say all the time, man. Uh, how did you? What are you doing here? Like I get it. I'm not your traditional journalist, I guess, but I'm just myself. I could not walk in here every day and pretend to be this perfect person. Just not inside. It's not inside me anymore. That died years ago. So, anyways, how about that defense? Gosh, man. God. Let's get back to the Pro Football Focus grades for a sec here. There were some notable absences on there too that I'm just curious about. I haven't been able to find the snap counts, so that's something I'm going to be interested in as well. As far as, well, I mean, it has the snap counts beside each name, so I guess you can just go ahead and make the judgment that certain guys didn't play, right? So let's get there. Hold on. All right. The roster. Okay, so we've got Ben Bogle, Hammond Russell, Fred Perry, Chase Wilson, Reed Carrico at linebacker, safety, and defensive line. Cam Torber even played 3 snaps, which is awesome. It's 72.4 grade. Remember, I told you guys about Cam Torber. Braden Siders, Cam Torber was my favorite freshman. Remember, I told you that? Along with a couple other ones, but Torber was number 1. Anyway, I'm trying to see here. There's a couple of names that I'm just surprised not to see any movement on. And no, never mind. Marshawn Oxley is on here. 6 snaps. Okay, that was one I was worried about. Okay, and William Davis is on here as well. I guess I missed these. 4 snaps. So let me get a drink here. I'm having some, I don't know if there's pollen in the air, but do you ever get that itchiness right where your sinuses drain? I got that going on tonight. It's like in that place where you can't even reach it to scratch it. It's horrible, man. But anyways, I think for me on this one, when talking about the defense, there are a few guys that really stood out yesterday. I mean, if there are more than a few. You probably start with Chase Wilson and Fred Perry as the 2. Reed Carrico. I think Reed Carrico stood out along with, well, actually the top 5 really stood out the most. If you subtract Ben Bogle and Cam Torber, because they've only got 12 snaps between them. Hammond Russell, Fred Perry, Chase Wilson, Reed Carrico, Braden Siders, and Devin Grant all played extremely well. They really did. Eddie Kelly played well at times, although I did see a couple of plays where he got pushed around a little bit in the run game. I was surprised to see that. Ben Cutter had one of the biggest hits of the game. I didn't see Jackson Beiser come in, but I was probably getting the show ready by the time that happened. Arsani Redwood had some good plays. Jordy Scruggs had a couple good plays. Jason Chambers was probably our best corner. Chris Filippo only got 10 plays as the backup. Israel Boyce got 20. Darren Lewis was another one that was very impressive. He had one of those early tackles that came up and really set the tone. Really set the tone early. It was great to see. But I'll tell you who probably of the young guys impressed me the most. And I got to give a shout out to Dylan for this, even though I don't think he's watching tonight. Somebody that I thought would be a year away. And if you look at his body, he kind of looks like he's still a year away. But I think he's still capable of helping us now. There's no doubt. And he was a guy that was up there with some of the best defenders that we had, Saturday. So, I mean, there were a bunch of guys to choose from. Don't get me wrong here. But I think, where is he? Let me find his score here. What was his score? I'm looking over it. You know, when you're trying to find something fast and then you keep overlooking it, that's what I'm doing right now. Oh gosh, where is his? Let's see. I'll just go from the bottom and go up. Maybe it's not as great a score as I thought, but I thought it was a good score. I'm almost sure it was. Well, very confusing. You know, it's like the one name that I would want to see, and it's not showing up for whatever reason. Well, they played a lot of players though. It doesn't matter. I can't find the score, but Ashton Woods played really well, right? I was like, man, dude, but Ben Bogle only played. Look, but you can't really grade. That's not a fair thing to say, though, Nate, because he only played 9 snaps. So I don't know. For me, it's like, absolutely, it's a fair thing to say as far as he had the great score and everything. But I mean, I don't know. I'm better off. I would rather have somebody have 30 or 40 plays, right? At least to really fairly grade it. Once again, never can find anything. Well, you get up in front of a few hundred people and try to find something while you're live with nobody to toss it to. And there's 100 names to look at. It's not like it's right there sitting on a platter. You get up and do it. But yeah, I was really impressed with Ashton Woods. Like he really had, and he filled the gap. He made a tackle a few times, but I mean, they were tough tackles. They were right in the teeth of the defense. I mean, or the offensive line where they were blocking. Really, just really good stuff, man. I was really happy to see that. Because I think he's a super athlete. He's got the pedigree we want and everything else you want to say about it, right? So, yeah, I'm definitely excited about him going forward. I'm going to be watching to see if he gets an uptick in snaps. But Reed Carrico, man, I mean, I was shocked that he really – not shocked. Shocked is probably too strong of a word, but I was surprised that Reed Carrico was able to get the pressure he did. But it's we're going to get a better barometer for it on Saturday when we play Ohio, for sure. And I mean, I'm looking forward to that. But I gotta tell you, man, I think our defense is going to play well in that game. I just wonder about Parker Navarro, man. Have you guys seen him play yet this offseason? I'm curious. If anybody's seen Parker Navarro yet, let me see if I can see we can find anything from Saturday that he did. Yeah, here's a great play right here that he made. Let's show this one really quick before we jump off here. So he says, Ohio quarterback Parker Navarro is criminally underrated nationally. Rutgers better be prepared for magic tonight. I'm assuming this is last year versus Jacksonville State in the game that they played in, which Tony Caridi and them were on the radio call for this, apparently, for the Cure Bowl. But, yeah, this is a heck of a play here that he made.
The 10-yard line. Navarro looks, spins. He'll flip it. Touchdown.
See, so that's the kind of plays he makes. He's like Garrett Green in a lot of ways. He's an improviser. He does all these crazy different things, and he can do them, and he's fast enough to do them. Like, and he's an incredible thrower of the football, and he's, like I said, he's about as fast as Garrett Green. Like, he can really move when he gets on his horse. So he worries me because a guy like that can really keep, somebody going down, up and down the field on somebody. If you look at group of 5 quarterbacks from week 1, he was rated 4th at 83.8 Pro Football Focus grade. That's pretty good. And then you look at his numbers, and he had 239 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 93 yards rushing, and a touchdown. Really good, man. Really good. So, yeah, obviously he can play, right? Here's a game against here's a play against Rutgers that he made that I thought was really good.
Navarro keeps it. He's got his man.
That wasn't the one. But it doesn't matter. Obviously he's only and obviously they have a receiver that we have to pay attention to in Hendrickson. It's either Hendricks or Hendrickson, but he's going to be another one that, he had 12 catches for them Saturday against Rutgers, and he could not be guarded. And it's their offensive coordinator. This is what a lot of people don't realize with Ohio. So, by the way, their play-by-play guy reached back out, and I'm going to be having him on the show. So, like their version of Tony Caridi. So I'll have him on at some point this week to talk him, because I don't know enough, right? I can deep dive and try to figure it out along the way. I'll go watch the Rutgers game. Actually, that's on the agenda tonight. I'll be up all night watching film and probably sleep in till 1 or 2 o'clock tomorrow. But so tonight, the docket is I'm rewatching our game for the 3rd time. And then because I'm going to be watching individuals in the 3rd watch. The first and the second, obviously the first game when we watched it live, I wasn't paying attention to anything but the game as it happened. The second game was more so watching the lines of scrimmage, not individuals. And sometimes I'll veer off and watch another guy. But the 3rd time around is watching individuals. I'm going to grade every play, all 70-something plays, and look at each individual as best as I can on each play. I'm just going to back it up a few times, watch the same play, make a note. I'm going to come back. We're going to do a show on it tomorrow. I appreciate it, Andrew. I'm not that stirred up over it. I mean, it might get me for a second, but I'm good. Thank you, though, man. Nathan, 61.1 is actually good, especially for a first start ever. 60 is considered average, so anything you get below that, it's considered below starter level. But you got to think he only had 17 snaps, so it's not fair. And I visually saw him involved in multiple plays. Like he's got a lot he can fix. He's got a lot of upside for me. But now keep in mind, analytics are great. It can't be all in everything. It's either like analytics are about the third or half the story for me sometimes. Just depends. Obviously, if I need a narrative, obviously I'll use it to prop up my narrative. But we're going to talk about the other stuff too, right? Like Nicco Marchiol had a 93. That in of itself could be a show. We're going to talk about more Ohio this week. We're going to get deep into the weeds on them. We got a lot to grade. I got to watch the Rutgers film, get a feel for who they are, just in case their guy don't come on. Because you never know with these guys. People cancel. They are unable to come on. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Absolutely, Daniel. Ohio is a good football team, man. They've won. I don't think people realize this. Maybe they don't. Ohio's won 30 games over the last 3 years, or however many it is, 31, 32. They've won 10 or more games 3 years in a row, and they've got their entire offense back off a team that won double-digit games last year. Let me say that again. Off a team that won 10-plus games, think about Memphis, what they did to us last year. They're in that category with Memphis, right? So their defense, they lost a lot on. They like their secondary, from what I understand. From listening to the Rutgers game, they like their secondary. They think they've got good corners. I don't think up front they're going to be able to stop us. Certainly time will tell. But from an offensive standpoint against our defense, don't be surprised if they don't score some points on us. I mean, they're very experienced. They're a veteran group. We're all brand new. They should be able to score on us. 10 games in, maybe not as much. But, I mean, they put up 27 on Rutgers, and Rutgers has got a lot of money to spend, more than we did. So, and Shiano knows what a good football team looks like. So I wouldn't underestimate Rutgers either. But yeah, just overall and generally, Ohio has got, probably one of the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks in Group of 5. He would be a Power 5 starter, absolutely, without question. As a matter of fact, he's perfect for what Rich Rod does. And they've got a number 1 wide receiver that's a Power 5 guy as well, Hendricks. Let's look up what his last name actually is. It's going to drive me wild. Ohio U versus Rutgers. Let's see. Box score. All right, so it looks like his name is Chase Hendricks. So 9 catches for 115 yards is what he had in the game. I don't know where he was last year. Let's see. Let's see if he transferred in, because I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. It's a question I was going to get to in my studies tonight. Transfer to Ohio U. Okay. Here we go. We got his profile pulled up. It looks like he started 2 games with Ohio. Wow. So he just came on strong. That's just what it comes down to. Last year he caught 40 balls for 471 yards, 11 yards per catch. So yeah, I mean, and he's been with Ohio. So this is his 3rd year in the program, and he's ready to roll, baby. So there you go. They've got a number 1 wide receiver. They've got a really good tight end as well that some people say is a NFL guy. So they've got offensive talent. They got a veteran offensive line, a bunch of seniors. Like, they all basically came back to win, probably to go to the playoff, to be honest. That's probably what their goal is, as a Mid-American conference. And or no, they're not in the MAC anymore, are they? I don't think. What conferences are they in? Are they still in the MAC? Maybe they are. Or in the Sun Belt? I'm not sure. They can't be in the Sun Belt. Let's see. Yeah, they're still in the MAC. That's interesting. You think they'd have moved on by now, but because that's Marshall's pit, right? Marshall and Ohio University had the biggest rivalry. All right, guys, let's jump out. Been on here long enough. I appreciate you guys for being here. Would love to talk with you more, but it's getting late. Got a lot of studying to do. So thank you so much for joining in. And we'll have Ohio on the docket all week. We'll be talking about different things. Is this a trap game for West Virginia? The whole thing. We'll talk about it. Guys, we will be back tomorrow. Before we go, got to let you know something first. Fire TV College Football is doing an awesome thing. It's another big moment for Locked On college football fans, as Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll and Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation, along 2-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season. Do that only on Fire TV. All right, guys. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.